Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. The First Human Mage at the Academy, written by Random 3X. January 4th, year 016, Angel's Descent. Alex took his first step onto the Academy grounds. Ostensibly, he was there to become Lord Sloth's apprentice, though that did not mean that he was welcome in any shape or form, especially as he was the first human on record ever to attend this illustrious academy of all things magic. His first impression of the school was magnificent. It was artistic in all the right ways to inspire awe and reverence in any budding student. His second, however, was how isolating it felt. He could feel the glares from all angles and every race other than my own. Really, though, had they not publicized his attendance, he could have gotten educated without issue. For instance, so many of the races here looked no different than he did. Everything from demons to werebeasts, even a few vampires, countless humanoids. But no, his master had to announce a human was attending and even go so far as to display a large portrait of him. Mongrel! A silver-haired werewolf snarled at as Alex walked past him. His quip seemed exceedingly witty to the crowd of sycophants as they all burst into laughter. What exactly can a human mage do? Mongrel, he added in another quip to another round of laughter. But Alex paid it no mind, however. He had been an adventurer since he was 8 and fought terrifying monsters that make grown men wet themselves. Petty words would do nothing to his morale. Walking around the campus and through the few buildings, he came to an isolated structure, an aptly named High Danger Research Building. This was where he would receive instruction from the greatest living mage of all time. Opening the door, he stepped in only to have the crossbow bolt slam into the doorframe right next to his head. "Whoa, you didn't even flinch!" a cheery voice said from the gloom of the room. The bolt was shot. What Alex didn't have the heart to admit was that he had frozen in terror, so it was not a conscious effort. "So you are the human, I take it," the cheery voice continued as she walked into the light. She appeared to be about 12 years old, however. Knowing the other races judging on appearance was pointless. "That I am," he replied, trying to keep his cool. She just snorted derisively, as if the blasé reply was nothing to her. For all he knew, it probably was. "Come now, you, don't bully the boy," an old haggard voice said from behind him. Alex, for his part, was shocked as he hadn't noticed his presence at all. He could only wonder, when did Master get there? "Yes, Master," she replied quickly, lowering her head in respect. "Now, Alex, I know your time here will be difficult, but I expect great things from my newest apprentice," Lord Sloth said with a smile, oozing with the knowledge he knew full well Alex would be experiencing hell. "Now, you show Alex your latest creation," Sloth ordered. You stood to attention, saluted and turned on the light in the dark room she was previously in. Upon the wall was a clockwork creation. Each gear was covered in runes. Alex instantly knew what it was supposed to be. It was a reality engine. Artificers had only theorized about them. He could only wonder if she had created it. As he looked it over, though, he noticed a few things. "Brilliant, isn't it?" you said with a prideful smile, as if waiting for Alex's praise. "In theory, but a lot of your runes will clash, and this thing here won't work at all," Alex explained, pointing to a few gears with which he could see Yu's gaze narrow. Sloth, however, just laughed as he turned to leave Yu and Alex alone in the room. Yu herself had a stunned look on her face, her jaw hanging low. "No one has spoken of my work like that," Yu said in disbelief. "Really?" Alex asked in equal disbelief. This was meant to be an institute for learning. Feedback was necessary for growth. She just nodded. "Half the dimwits who see it don't know what it is. The other half that does don't care to say anything is wrong with the work of Sloth's apprentice," Yu said with a mad grin. "Human, I like you. Will you help me with my research? You seem clever enough, you said, offering her hand to him. Only if you'll help me with mine, Alex replied, taking the hand and returning with his own mad grin. January 18th, year 018, Angel's Descent. It had been a little over 2 years since Alex first came to the academy. His research had gone leaps and bounds forward. He and Yu became fast friends to the point that they were basically each other's research partners. If not for her, he'd undoubtedly have issues casting, having lost 3 fingers on his right hand during a backlash explosion from a failed spell. It's a good thing I'm ambidextrous, Alex muttered, giving his new fingers a reflexive squeeze. Lately, their master had ordered them to actually mingle with the other students. They could only wonder why, as they were looked upon with envy and contempt. Alex for the sin of being human, and you for being the youngling dwarf. They couldn't fathom why the duo were chosen for the great honor while they languished in mediocrity. Their master, however, had given them a strict rule to abide by. Regardless of the situation, they were not permitted to strike back at any other student using their magic. It seemed he wished to test their resolve that, or he was just a grumpy bastard. It appeared, however, he was discounting the fact that they had both literally blown off limbs in their research and only stopped to replace them with artificer ones. Walking through the grounds, Alex and Yu went on a tour through the various departments, inspecting the student experiments. For a few students that were positively inclined to them or are simply hoping to garner favor, eagerly showing them their work. Childish, Yu scoffed, looking at the experiments on display. Alex was inclined to agree. This was the stuff that they were doing before even coming here. He couldn't help but wonder why the students were so proud of it. Hey, mongrel, who let you out of the kennel? A haughty voice snarled behind him. It was the same werewolf who insulted him on his first day. The werewolf's name was Celis, a well-known prodigy and eldest son of the sinful Lord of Pride, much to the duo's chagrin. Celis seemed to think that gave him the same status. I believe that it was your mother when she invited me to her bedchamber, Alex replied snarkily. All at once, the room went so deathly quiet you could hear the pin drop. Celis's eyes were burning in fury. Think you're funny, do you? Celis barked at him. I'm only as funny as you think you are, Alex replied with a nonchalant shrug. I will kill you, Celis screamed, charging at Alex, his hand already changing to a claw. The pair had developed the skill in their few years of blowing themselves up. Impeccable reactions. So Alex easily sidestepped Celis's slow and clumsy movements, but Celis didn't let up. He kept up the wild assault. Alex knew that he could so easily squash him, had their master not forbidden them from doing so. What's wrong, human can't use magic? Celis sneered, letting up his assault. Alex just shrugged. You're not wrong. I can't use magic, Alex admitted, leaving out that it was due to an order rather than inability. Celis, however, reading the situation the way he wanted, just laughed his head off at this declaration. How did you become Lord Sloth's apprentice? I'll never know. But know this, you will never amount to anything. You and your peasant human blood dirty these halls, he said with a final sneer before turning back to join his cronies. You walked up to stand beside Alex and leant in as best she could with the height difference. Want me to put a bomb in his privy? She asked. Alex just shook his head. No point in retaliating. This was just a kid's argument. No need, you, but I appreciate the thought. But when he talks like that, I just remember an old saying. What's that? That no one can make you feel bad without your consent. Damn. Fortune cookie dork. February 24th, year 19, Angel's Descent. There was talk about the academy about Lord Sloth having created a brand new spell of unbelievable power. One so strong, it cut a clean hole through the indomitable wall. Little did they know it was Alex who had done it. Lord Sloth himself even said the feat was such that he'd grant Alex his family name. This was the highest honor he could ever hope for. Noah's word spread about the academy, Celis and his cronies seemed to be attempting a concentrated campaign against him. They had been leaving trap runes and various other attacks for Alex to trigger. It wouldn't have been a real threat if they weren't so poorly made. When he consulted his master, Sloth maintained his rule that Alex was forbidden to retaliate until at least the graduation combat arena. When asked why, Sloth pointed out Alex was already a continental class mage, meaning his magic could affect an entire continent. In contrast, Celis was barely an average battle mage, in Sloth's own words. Why would a mountain bother itself with a grain of sand? Well, pithy, Alex felt he must act. It is only a matter of time until one of Celis's traps is triggered by another student. When he spoke to you about this, she kindly offered to kill Celis in a way that could never be traced back to them. Alex felt it was a bit of an extreme offer, mind you, but he decided to keep his wits about him and bide his time. Another development for Alex was he had also taken on a tutoring role to help the already stretched thin staff. He had taken on the task of teaching the fundamentals to toddlers and kids pre-elemental age, a job wildly considered only the most brave or insane teacher would take. Alex, however, found it fulfilling, though he still shuddered at this image after seeing the previous teacher for the class, with half her hair burnt away and the stains of, he honestly didn't know what, but it stank. September 16th, year 20, Angel's Descent. It was finally graduation time. Through careful manipulation of the ordering, Alex had been paired against Celis. After he blew up the classroom, Alex taught him, he swore, that he would make Celis regret making him an enemy. He was only grateful the kids weren't in the room at the time. So the only thing lost was the part of his left leg. He still had to contain a chuckle, remembering going to the infirmary. Thanks to his history with exploding, the nurses were very familiar with him. The head matron spent the entire time stitching him up as an excuse to scold him. Looking out across the arena, Alex could see Celis boasting and soaking in the crowd's applause. It seemed he was popular despite that disagreeable personality of his. Impatient for the event to begin, Alex slightly tapped his left foot, which was a new artificer limb you had developed. The teacher near the entrance gestured for him to come into the arena. As he stepped out onto the arena, the whole place went quiet. There were only two people loudly cheering. Elisa Ironwood, a new and very close friend Alex had made in the past year, and you. The pair seemed to be blatantly ignoring that the crowd was shooting them death glares completely. Regardless, it was finally time to show them what a human mage could do. This shall be an honorable duel between mages, the proctor began. Then we can declare this my win, as he cannot use magic, Celis announced with a sneer, raising his arms as if to indicate to the crowd now was the time to laugh. The proctor turned to face Alex. Is it true you cannot use magic? He asked pointedly. I can use magic. I was just forbidden from using it because I'd kill anyone I'd use it on. This was a direct order from my master, Lord Sloth. Alex replied loud enough for everyone to hear. It was plain to see Celis' face begin to pale, while the proctor just nodded understandingly. I see. A safe order. So I can prepare the correct spectator defensive array. What was your mage grade and class? He asked. Grade 5, Continental class. Alex's answer only made the silence almost seem louder. Looking around the audience, Alex could see many pale faces in the crowd now. Celis's cronies, who were jeering only moments ago, were already making themselves scarce. Understood. Begin when I have left the arena. The proctor nodded, making his own hasty retreat. No one will believe your lies, mongrel, Celis snarled as his usual tone. However, it seemed more desperate than previously. A loud bell rang to indicate the start. Celis reached into his pocket to produce the reagents packet, a small folded piece of paper with everything a spell needed to activate. With it in hand, he looked at Alex expectantly. Lumus Rex, Alex chanted. Ha ha ha! Celis laughed loudly, You expect to beat me with the most basic light spell any mage used to... His voice trailed off as he saw the light trace the shape of a magic circle. Okay, Celis. I hope you survive this. Alex smiled as the mana density around him began to build. Celis himself could no longer stand under the weight of the force of Alex was exuding. With a light tap of a finger against the circle, he launched his attack at him. All at once, Celis's body was surrounded by the spell. A blinding light enveloped the whole arena, blinding everybody watching. When the light cleared, everyone looked on in shock. Do you concede? Alex asked pleasantly, in the same tone many would confidently ask a girl out. The reason for his tone became apparent as a few snickers and muffled giggles began to ring out amongst the audience. Celis, back on his feet, shook his fists in rage. Alex had transmogrified his clothes into a beautiful ball gown. He was even kind enough to change Celis's very impressive wand into a parasol and a circlet into a frilly bonnet. The onlookers were entirely free from their stunned shock by the peal of snorting laughter coming from Alyssa and you. As if the dam burst, the entire crowd burst into laughter. Celis's face immediately grew to a deep shade of red. You bastard! He screamed. I will kill you for this! He squealed, while picking his packet back up and beginning to chant to summon a fireball. Alex repeated his light trick, this time summoning a small fireball of his own. While Celis was still chanting, Alex launched a fireball at his hand, targeting the packet itself. With a large blast, Celis was thrown backwards. Watching this, Alex surmised Celis must have favored blasting powder as a reagent, a common practice as it could be useful in other mediums compared to a dragon's eyelash. Listen, Celis, I wasn't kidding about the possibility of you dying. Give it up while you still have a little pride left, Alex calmly said, trying to get him to back down. I will never surrender to a human. I may not win here today, but I will make sure you suffer. I'll start with your woman, and maybe even your precious students. I will kill them all. Celis screamed in a rant, seemingly oblivious to his missing hand. Okay, I've had enough of this. Any mercy Alex had left vanished when Celis threatened his students. Holding his hand out, he summoned a pair of light magic circles, but this time he merged them into one rotating structure. This was how he had broken the hole in the indomitable wall. Spell merging, Celis shouted, eyes widening in abject terror. I'll only take your other hand, then shatter your mana core, after which you won't be able to do magic ever again. Alex's voice would have chilled ice. With the lightest of gestures, he launched a considerable ball of magic energy at Celis's remaining hand. Celis fell to the ground, unconscious. He was missing both hands and in a dress. The arena was dead quiet. No one dared say a word. Looking around the crowd at everyone, all the people who disparaged him spoke of him as if something lesser. He had bested the top mage in the academy, and Celis hadn't even been able to counter him. Now, they knew what a human mage like he could do. End of story. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Casper Arnholt, Cam Maxwell, it's difficult to pronounce, Lord Arishakal, Dragzoon WRE, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.